Imagine a small settlement nestled on the banks of the Tiber River in Italy, a humble beginning for what would become one of the most influential empires in human history. This is the story of Rome, a journey spanning over 1,000 years, from its legendary founding to its eventual fragmentation. Our timeline begins in the mists of legend, around 753 BCE, with the mythical Romulus and Remus, twin brothers said to have been raised by a she-wolf, establishing the city that would bear Romulus's name. The early centuries of Rome were marked by the rule of kings, a period lasting until 509 BCE. While historical details are scarce, tradition tells of 7 kings who shaped the early city, establishing its basic institutions and infrastructure. The overthrow of the last king, Tarquin the Proud, marked a pivotal turning point, ushering in the Roman Republic. The Roman Republic 509 BCE, 327 BCE, was a period of dynamic expansion and the development of a unique political system. Power was initially concentrated in the hands of wealthy landowners, the patricians, who dominated the Senate. However, the plebeians, the common citizens, gradually fought for and won greater political rights through a series of struggles and the establishment of their own assemblies and tribunes. The Republic's early centuries were characterized by military expansion throughout Italy. Roman legions, renowned for their discipline and organization, gradually subdued neighboring tribes and city-states, establishing Roman dominance over the Italian peninsula. Key events include the conquest of Veii in 396 BCE and the Samnite Wars, 343–290 BCE, which solidified Roman control over central Italy. The Punic Wars 264–146 BCE were a defining period for the Republic, pitting Rome against its powerful rival Carthage, a Phoenician city-state in North Africa. These epic conflicts, marked by the brilliant Carthaginian general Hannibal's invasion of Italy, tested Rome's resilience to its limits. Roman victories in the First, Second, and ultimately the Third Punic Wars cemented Rome's control over the Mediterranean and established it as a major power. The destruction of Carthage in 146 BCE marked the end of this long and brutal rivalry. As Rome's power grew, so did internal tensions. The influx of wealth and slaves from conquered territories led to social and economic inequalities. The late Republic was marked by political instability, the rise of powerful generals with loyal armies, and a series of civil wars. Figures like the Gracchi brothers, Marius, and Sulla, attempted reforms or seized power, highlighting the strains on the republican system. The First Triumvirate, 60 BCE, an informal alliance between Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus, further destabilized the Republic. Their ambition and rivalry ultimately led to another civil war, from which Julius Caesar emerged victorious. Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE, by senators fearing his monarchical ambitions, plunged Rome into yet another period of conflict. The Second Triumvirate, 43 BCE, an alliance between Octavian Caesar's adopted son, Mark Antony, and Lepidus, eventually dissolved into rivalry between Octavian and Antony. Octavian's victory at the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE marked the end of the Republic and the dawn of a new era for Rome. The end of the Roman Republic paved the way for the rise of the Roman Empire, a period marked by the consolidation of power in the hands of a single ruler, the emperor. The reign of Octavian, who took the title Augustus, is generally considered the beginning of the Roman Empire in 27 BCE. Augustus skillfully navigated the transition, maintaining the facade of republican institutions, while firmly establishing his autocratic rule. His long reign ushered in an era of relative peace and prosperity, known as the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. Augustus implemented significant reforms, reorganizing the army, stabilizing the economy, and undertaking extensive building projects in Rome. He also cultivated a powerful image as the restorer of Roman glory, laying the foundation for the imperial cult that would deify subsequent emperors. His chosen successors, though not always his direct descendants, continued to consolidate imperial power. The Julio-Claudian dynasty, 27 BCE, 68 CE, followed Augustus, with emperors like Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, and Nero. This period saw both competent rule and periods of instability and tyranny. Tiberius consolidated imperial finances and administration, while Caligula's reign was marked by extravagance and cruelty. Claudius, despite physical ailments, was an able administrator and oversaw the conquest of parts of Britain. Nero's rule became increasingly erratic and violent, culminating in his forced suicide, and the end of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. The year 69 CE became known as the Year of the Four Emperors, a period of intense civil war, as various generals vied for the imperial throne. This instability was eventually brought to an end by Vespasian, who established the Flavian dynasty 69–96 CE. Vespasian restored order, and began the construction of the Colosseum. His sons Titus and Domitian continued his policies, with Titus's brief reign marked by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, and the destruction of Pompeii and Herculaneum. Domitian's autocratic rule eventually led to his assassination, and the end of the Flavian dynasty. Despite the occasional periods of turmoil, and the varying qualities of the early emperors, the period from Augustus to the Flavians saw the firm establishment of the imperial system, the expansion and consolidation of Roman territories, and the continuation of the Pax Romana, which fostered economic growth and cultural flourishing throughout the vast empire. The foundations laid during this era would shape the course of the Roman Empire for centuries to come. Following the tumultuous Year of the Four Emperors and the Flavian dynasty, the Roman Empire entered a period of remarkable stability and prosperity under what are known as the Five Good Emperors: Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, and Marcus Aurelius. This era, spanning from 96 to 180 CE, is often considered the zenith of the Pax Romana, a time of peace, efficient governance, and significant cultural and economic flourishing throughout the vast empire. The succession of these emperors was largely based on merit and adoption, rather than hereditary lineage, contributing to a period of relatively stable and competent rule. Nerva, the first of the five, established the precedent of adopting capable successors. His adopted son Trajan oversaw significant military expansion, bringing Dacia, modern-day Romania, and parts of Mesopotamia under Roman control, marking the empire's greatest territorial extent. Trajan also initiated ambitious public works projects, including roads, aqueducts, and bath complexes, improving infrastructure and the quality of life across the empire. Hadrian, Trajan's successor, focused on consolidating and defending the empire's borders, rather than further expansion. He famously built Hadrian's Wall in Britain to delineate the northern frontier. Hadrian was also a great patron of the arts and culture, and his reign saw a flourishing of intellectual and artistic activity. He traveled extensively throughout the empire, fostering a sense of unity and overseeing administrative reforms. Antoninus Pius continued Hadrian's policies of peace and prosperity. His reign was largely uneventful in terms of major wars or internal strife, allowing for continued economic growth and stability. He was known for his mild and benevolent rule. Marcus Aurelius, the last of the Five Good Emperors, was a Stoic philosopher whose meditations offer insights into his personal reflections on duty, virtue, and the nature of the universe. His reign was marked by increasing external pressures, including wars against Germanic tribes along the northern borders, and a plague that swept through the empire. His death in 180 CE is often considered the end of the Pax Romana and the beginning of a period of decline. During the Pax Romana, the vast Roman Empire facilitated unprecedented levels of trade and communication. Well-maintained roads connected distant provinces, allowing for the efficient movement of goods, people, and ideas. Roman law provided a framework for justice and administration across diverse cultures. Cities flourished as centers of commerce, culture, and administration, boasting impressive public buildings, temples, theaters, and bathhouses. Roman engineering prowess was evident in the construction of aqueducts that supplied fresh water to urban centers, and the vast network of roads and bridges that crisscrossed the empire. The relative peace and prosperity of the Pax Romana fostered a vibrant cultural environment. Roman literature, philosophy, and art flourished, often drawing inspiration from Greek traditions, but also developing uniquely Roman characteristics. This era left an enduring legacy in law, language, Latin being the basis for many Romance languages, architecture, and political thought, shaping the development of Western civilization for centuries to come. The death of Marcus Aurelius, in 180 CE, marked the end of the Pax Romana, and plunged the Roman Empire into a tumultuous period known as the crisis of the 3rd century. This era, lasting for over 100 years, was characterized by political instability, civil wars, economic chaos, and external invasions that brought the empire to the brink of disintegration. The reign of Commodus, Marcus Aurelius's son, quickly deviated from the relative stability of his predecessors. His autocratic and erratic rule alienated the Senate, and ultimately led to his assassination in 192 CE, triggering a new round of civil war. Several generals vied for the imperial throne, each supported by their own legions, plunging the empire into a state of near-constant conflict. Over the course of the 3rd century, the imperial throne changed hands with alarming frequency. Emperors rose and fell, often through violence, with many ruling for only a few months or years. This rapid turnover of leadership severely weakened the central authority of the empire, making it difficult to address pressing issues and maintain stability. The constant civil wars diverted resources and manpower away from defending the empire's borders. Germanic tribes, along the Rhine and Danube frontiers, launched increasingly aggressive incursions, while the Sasanian Empire in Persia posed a significant threat in the east. Vast territories were lost or ravaged by invaders, further straining the empire's resources and morale. Economic chaos also gripped the empire during this period. Inflation soared as successive emperors debased the coinage to fund their armies and lavish spending. Trade routes were disrupted by conflict and instability, leading to economic decline and hardship for the general population. The urban centers that had flourished during the Pax Romana often suffered as a result of these economic woes and the constant threat of invasion. Regionalism became increasingly pronounced as the central government weakened. Powerful generals in the provinces sometimes declared themselves emperor, establishing breakaway states within the empire. The Gallic Empire in the west and the Palmyrene Empire in the east were significant examples of this fragmentation, further eroding the authority and territorial integrity of Rome. The crisis of the 3rd century was a period of immense suffering and disruption for the inhabitants of the Roman Empire. The constant warfare, economic hardship, and the breakdown of central authority led to a decline in population, agricultural output, and overall quality of life. The empire seemed on the verge of complete collapse. However, the empire ultimately survived this period of intense crisis. The reigns of strong military emperors, like Diocletian, who came to power in 284 CE, marked the beginning of a recovery. Diocletian's reforms, though radical, laid the groundwork for a more stable and centralized empire that would endure for centuries in the east and eventually fragment in the west. The crisis of the 3rd century serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of even the most powerful empires and the devastating consequences of internal strife and external pressures. Emerging from the chaos of the 3rd century, Emperor Diocletian recognized the profound challenges facing the vast and unwieldy Roman Empire. To restore order and ensure more effective governance and defense, he implemented radical reforms, most notably the establishment of the tetrarchy, or rule by four. Imagine a single emperor struggling to manage the immense territories and numerous threats facing Rome. Diocletian's solution was to divide the empire into two halves, east and west, each ruled by an Augustus senior emperor. Each Augustus would then appoint a Caesar junior emperor and designated successor to assist them and eventually inherit their position. Diocletian himself took the position of Augustus in the east, while Maximian became Augustus in the west. Galerius was appointed Caesar in the east, and Constantius Chlorus became Caesar in the west. This system was designed to address several key issues. First, it provided for a more decentralized administration, allowing rulers to focus on the specific needs and defenses of their respective regions. Second, it aimed to prevent the kind of individual ambition and military coups that had plagued the 3rd century by establishing a clear line of succession and a mechanism for shared power. Third, it allowed for a more coordinated response to threats along the empire's extensive borders, with 4 rulers capable of leading armies and managing resources in different areas simultaneously. Diocletian also implemented significant military reforms, reorganizing the legions and increasing the size of the army to better cope with external pressures. He separated military and civilian administration to reduce the power of provincial governors and ensure greater accountability. Economically, he attempted to combat inflation through the Edict on Maximum Prices, though this proved largely unsuccessful. He also reformed the tax system to provide a more stable revenue base for the empire. Culturally, Diocletian reinforced the imperial cult,
emphasizing the emperor's semi-divine status to bolster his authority and restore a sense of unity and tradition after decades of turmoil. His reign saw the last major persecution of Christians in the Roman Empire, reflecting his commitment to traditional Roman religious beliefs and his desire to maintain social cohesion. The Tetrarchy, while initially successful in restoring a degree of stability and order, contained inherent tensions. The ambition of individual rulers and the lack of a truly seamless mechanism for succession meant that the system was ultimately fragile. Diocletian and Maximian voluntarily abdicated in 305 CE, hoping to ensure a peaceful transition to their Caesars, Galerius and Constantius Chlorus. However, this abdication triggered a new round of power struggles among the Caesars and other ambitious figures, ultimately leading to the dismantling of the Tetrarchy and another period of civil war. Despite its eventual collapse, Diocletian's Tetrarchy represented a crucial attempt to address the systemic problems that had brought the Roman Empire to its knees in the 3rd century. His reforms laid some of the groundwork for the later division of the empire and the rise of powerful centralized rule under subsequent emperors like Constantine the Great. Following Diocletian's abdication, the fragile Tetrarchy quickly dissolved into renewed civil war. Among the contenders for power was Constantine, the son of Constantius Chlorus. Through a series of military victories, including the crucial Battle of the Milvian Bridge in 312 CE, Constantine emerged as the sole ruler of the Western Roman Empire. He later defeated Licinius, the Emperor of the East, to become the sole emperor of a reunified Roman Empire in 324 CE. Constantine's reign marked a profound turning point in Roman history, most notably due to his relationship with Christianity. While the religion had been present in the empire for centuries and had faced periods of persecution, Constantine's policies dramatically shifted its status. The Edict of Milan in 313 CE, issued jointly with Licinius, granted religious tolerance throughout the empire, effectively ending the official persecution of Christians. The traditional account credits Constantine's conversion to Christianity to a vision he experienced before the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, where he saw a Christian symbol, the Chi-Rho, and believed that the Christian god aided him in his victory. Whatever the personal motivations behind his actions, Constantine's patronage significantly elevated the status and influence of Christianity within the empire. Constantine actively supported the Christian Church, granting it legal rights, donating land and wealth, and exempting clergy from certain civic duties. He also convened the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, the first ecumenical council of the Christian Church, to address theological disputes and establish a unified Christian doctrine. While Christianity did not become the official state religion under Constantine, his reign marked its ascent to a position of prominence and influence that would continue to grow in the centuries to come. Beyond his religious policies, Constantine also implemented significant political and administrative reforms. He solidified the trend towards centralized imperial power, further diminishing the role of the Senate. He reorganized the administrative structure of the empire, creating new levels of bureaucracy. Perhaps his most enduring political decision was the founding of a new imperial capital in the east, Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul. Strategically located on the Bosporus Strait, Constantinople became a magnificent and wealthy city, the new Rome, and would serve as the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantine Empire, for over 1,000 years. Constantine's reign thus represents a critical juncture in Roman history. His embrace of Christianity had a profound and lasting impact on the religious landscape of Europe and the world. His political and administrative reforms further centralized imperial power and shifted the empire's center of gravity eastward, laying the foundations for the distinct development of the Eastern Roman Empire. Following the death of Constantine the Great in 337 CE, the Roman Empire was once again plunged into a period of internal power struggles among his sons. While Constantine had ruled a unified empire, the inherent administrative and cultural differences between the East and West, coupled with the ambitions of his successors, ultimately led to a more formalized and lasting division.
Constantine had intended for his empire to be ruled by his three sons, Constantine II, Constantius II, and Constans. However, their rivalries soon led to conflict and the eventual division of the empire among them. After a period of further internal strife, Constantius II emerged as the sole emperor in 353 CE, briefly reuniting the empire. However, this unity proved short-lived. Upon Constantius II's death, his cousin Julian, known as the Apostate, for his attempts to revive traditional Roman paganism, ruled briefly. After Julian's death, the empire continued to be ruled by emperors who often favored either the eastern or western parts, reflecting the growing divergence between the two halves. The geographical and cultural differences between the Western and Eastern Roman empires contributed significantly to this increasing division. The West, centered in Rome, though later in other cities like Trier and Ravenna, was largely Latin-speaking and faced greater pressure from Germanic migrations and invasions. Its economy was more agrarian-based, and its urban centers gradually declined. The East, with its capital in the thriving metropolis of Constantinople, was predominantly Greek-speaking and boasted a more robust economy based on trade and a more stable urban infrastructure. It also benefited from a more defensible geographical position and a more centralized administrative system. The Eastern emperors generally had greater resources and were able to exert more direct control over their territories. The reign of Theodosius III, 379–395 CE, is often considered the point at which the division of the empire became more or less permanent. Theodosius briefly reunited the empire, but upon his death in 395 CE, he formally divided it between his two sons. Arcadius became the ruler of the Eastern Roman Empire, and Honorius became the ruler of the Western Roman Empire. While the idea of a unified Roman Empire persisted in theory for some time, in practice, the two halves increasingly followed separate paths. They developed distinct political structures, economic systems, and cultural identities. They also faced different external threats and adopted different strategies for survival. The Western Roman Empire would face mounting pressure from Germanic migrations and internal weaknesses, eventually leading to its collapse in the 5th century CE. The Eastern Roman Empire, on the other hand, would endure for another 1,000 years as the Byzantine Empire, preserving Roman traditions and developing its own unique identity. The formal division of the Roman Empire, in 395 CE, marked a significant turning point in European history, signaling the end of a truly unified Roman world and the beginning of the distinct trajectories of Western and Eastern civilizations. Following the formal division of the Roman Empire, in 395 CE, the Western Roman Empire embarked on a trajectory of increasing decline, ultimately culminating in its symbolic fall in 476 CE. Several interconnected factors contributed to this protracted period of disintegration. One of the most significant challenges facing the West was the constant pressure from Germanic migrations and invasions. For centuries, Germanic tribes had resided along the Roman frontiers. However, in the late 4th and 5th centuries, driven by factors such as population growth, pressure from other migrating groups like the Huns, and the allure of Roman wealth and land, these tribes began to move into Roman territory in larger numbers. The Visigoths, fleeing the Huns, were granted refuge within the Western Roman Empire, but later revolted, sacking Rome in 410 CE. Other tribes, including the Vandals, who eventually established a kingdom in North Africa, and the Burgundians, who settled in Gaul, further eroded Roman control over its provinces. The Huns, under their fierce leader Attila, also posed a major threat in the mid-5th century, invading Gaul and Italy, before being turned back. Internal weaknesses within the Western Roman Empire exacerbated the impact of these external pressures. Political instability continued to plague the West, with weak emperors often controlled by powerful military commanders. Corruption and inefficiency within the administration further weakened the central government's ability to respond effectively to crises. Economic problems also contributed to the decline. The disruption of trade, the loss of productive territories to invaders, and heavy taxation to fund the military led to economic decline and social unrest. The once vibrant urban centers of the West gradually shrank, and the agrarian economy struggled under the strain of constant conflict. The Roman army, while still a formidable force at times, was increasingly stretched thin and often relied on recruiting Germanic mercenaries to fill its ranks. This reliance on foreign troops, while sometimes necessary, could also lead to instability and divided loyalties. Key events in the decline of the West include the loss of Britain in the early 5th century, the Vandal sack of Rome in 455 CE, and the increasing control exerted by Germanic generals over the Western emperors. In 476 CE, the Germanic general Odoacer deposed the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, and declared himself ruler of Italy. This event is traditionally considered the symbolic fall of the Western Roman Empire, although Roman institutions and culture persisted in various forms for some time afterward. It's important to note that the fall of the Western Roman Empire was a gradual and complex process rather than a single event. Roman authority had been eroding for decades, and Germanic kingdoms had already established themselves within former Roman territories. The deposition of Romulus Augustulus simply marked a point where there was no longer a recognized Roman emperor in the West. The legacy of the Western Roman Empire continued to shape the development of Western Europe in the centuries that followed. Germanic successor kingdoms adopted Roman administrative practices, law, and Christianity. The Latin language remained the language of the Church and of learning. The memory of Roman grandeur and unity would continue to influence political thought and the aspirations of future rulers in the West. While the Western Roman Empire crumbled in the 5th century CE, the Eastern Roman Empire, centered in the strategically vital and wealthy city of Constantinople, not only survived, but flourished for another 1,000 years, evolving into what we know as the Byzantine Empire. Several factors contributed to its remarkable resilience. Constantinople's geographical location provided significant advantages. Situated on the Bosporus Strait, it controlled key trade routes between Europe and Asia, ensuring a steady flow of wealth and resources. Its strong fortifications, including the massive Theodosian walls, made it one of the most defensible cities in the world, capable of withstanding numerous sieges. The Eastern Roman Empire also benefited from a more centralized and efficient administration compared to the West. A strong imperial bureaucracy, rooted in Roman traditions, but adapted to the East, maintained order, collected taxes effectively, and oversaw the military. The emperors in Constantinople generally wielded more direct control over their territories and resources. The East also maintained a more robust economy, based on trade, craftsmanship, and agriculture. Its vibrant urban centers, particularly Constantinople, remained centers of commerce and culture, unlike the declining cities of the West. This economic strength provided the resources necessary to maintain a strong military and a stable government. The Eastern Roman Empire preserved Roman law, administration, and military traditions, adapting them to the specific needs of the Eastern Mediterranean world. Roman law, codified under Emperor Justinian I in the 6th century, formed the basis of Byzantine legal thought and influenced legal systems in other parts of Europe. The Byzantine army, while evolving over time, remained a formidable force, incorporating cavalry, infantry, and sophisticated siegecraft. Culturally, the Eastern Roman Empire developed its own distinct identity, heavily influenced by Greek language and Hellenistic traditions, as well as Orthodox Christianity. While it considered itself the continuation of the Roman Empire, its cultural and linguistic character increasingly diverged from the Latin West. The Byzantine Empire became a major center of Orthodox Christian faith and culture, its art, architecture, and theology, leaving a lasting legacy. The Byzantine Empire faced numerous challenges over its long history, including invasions by Persians, Arabs, Slavs, Bulgarians, and eventually the Seljuk Turks and the Crusaders. Despite these threats, it managed to endure for centuries, preserving classical learning, spreading Christianity to the Slavs, and acting as a buffer between Europe and the East. Key periods in Byzantine history include the reign of Justinian I 6th century, who reconquered parts of the Western Roman Empire, and oversaw the construction of the Hagia Sophia, the iconoclast controversy. 8th and 9th centuries, a major religious and political dispute, and the Macedonian Renaissance 9th–11th centuries, a period of cultural and intellectual flourishing. The Byzantine Empire finally fell to the Ottoman Turks in 1453, with the conquest of Constantinople, a momentous event that marked the end of the long lineage of the Roman Empire in the East, and had significant implications for European history. However, its legacy in terms of law, culture, and religion continued to resonate for centuries. Despite its eventual fragmentation in the West, and its transformation in the East, the Roman Empire left an indelible mark on the course of Western civilization, and continues to influence our world in countless ways. Its achievements in law, language, governance, engineering, and culture have resonated through the centuries, shaping the development of Europe, the Americas, and beyond. Consider the legacy of Roman law. The principles of Roman jurisprudence, emphasizing written codes, legal precedent, and the rights of citizens, formed the foundation of legal systems in many European countries, and continue to influence legal thought today. Concepts like due process, property rights, and contractual obligations have their roots in Roman legal tradition. The Latin language, the lingua franca of the Roman Empire, became the basis for the Romance languages. Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian, which are spoken by hundreds of millions of people worldwide. Latin also served as the language of scholarship, science, and the Christian Church for centuries, leaving a vast vocabulary that enriches the English language and many others. The Roman Empire's contributions to governance and administration are also significant. The idea of a centralized state, a professional bureaucracy, and a system of provinces, governed by appointed officials, influenced the development of political structures in subsequent empires and nations. The concept of citizenship, with its associated rights and responsibilities, also has its origins in Roman society. Roman engineering prowess was unparalleled in the ancient world. Their mastery of concrete, their extensive network of roads, aqueducts that brought fresh water to cities, bridges and public baths stand as testaments to their innovative spirit and practical skills. These engineering achievements not only improved the lives of Roman citizens, but also served as models for later civilizations. In the realm of culture, Roman art, architecture, and literature, often drawing inspiration from Greece, developed their own distinctive styles and made lasting contributions. Roman sculpture, with its realistic portraiture and grand public monuments, Roman architecture, with its imposing structures like the Colosseum and the Pantheon, and Roman literature, with its epic poems, historical accounts, and philosophical writings, have continued to be studied and admired for their artistic merit and historical insights. The spread of Christianity within the Roman Empire, particularly after its official recognition and later adoption as the state religion, had a profound and lasting impact on the religious landscape of Europe and the world. The organization and structure of the early church were influenced by Roman administrative models, and the church became a major cultural and political force in the post-Roman world. Even the concept of empire itself, with its connotations of vast territory, centralized power, and cultural influence, owes a significant debt to the Roman example. The memory of Roman grandeur and unity inspired rulers and thinkers for centuries, influencing the formation of later empires and the pursuit of European unity. In conclusion, the rise and fall of the Roman Empire is a story of immense scale and enduring significance. From its humble beginnings to its vast territorial reach and eventual fragmentation, Rome left an indelible mark on Western civilization. Its contributions in law, language, governance, engineering, and culture continue to shape our world, making the study of its history essential to understanding our own. The echoes of Roman legions, the wisdom of its philosophers, and the grandeur of its monuments resonate even today, a testament to the enduring power and legacy of this remarkable empire.